Okay, now I'm driving back down Turner Hill Road, and after a mile or two, this is the first house that you get to. It has what appears to be a 2-car garage with a room attached, and then there are a few different structures behind that garage. So it kind of looks like a camp. Oftentimes camps are set up like this. They'll have the dining room in one building, they'll have the rec center in another building, they'll have the dorms in another building. So this whole place reminds me of something like a campground. They got a flagpole, they got a basketball hoop, and then they have a few different buildings. It looks like they are cutting down a lot of trees in this area, and they are also producing maple syrup. Whenever I am in an area such as this, I just drive by looking straight ahead. I don't try to wave at the people, I don't try to look at the people, and I definitely do not try to talk to the people. I find that is the best thing to do, is to not give anyone any attention whatsoever. And then their instinct is to just leave you alone. So once I was at a campground and I was walking around filming the place, and as I was driving out, a staff member walked out of one of the buildings, and he didn't say a word to me until I looked over at him and I gave him a little wave as I was driving out. And at that point he began to scream, "Could I help you? Hey, could I help you?" So that little wave gave him the motivation to start yelling at the car and at me. So my best advice is to not look at anybody and act like you're minding your own business, and they should do the same. If someone were to walk by and even say hello to me, I would ignore them, I wouldn't look at them or say anything back to them. At the end of Turner Hill Road, I'm making a left on Elm Avenue. And Elm Avenue leads back to Route 202, which is the major route in that area. So on the right, I noticed this wooden structure. So I really do not know what that is used for. So it kind of resembles a catapult. So I really do not know what that is. If it is not a catapult or something like that, maybe one of you would know better than I do. However, that is my guess. So I just want to point out this yellow house on the right and tell you to take notice of that yellow house because it will come up again later in this documentary. On the left is a sign that reads Brailsford and Company Incorporated, 15 Elm Avenue. So there is this long white building at the top of the driveway, and there is a sign that says store to the right and shipping to the left. It looks like an industrial type building. There are only a few windows. There is a side door with a covered entryway, and there is a sign on the door that says attention FedEx. Late pickup will be done on loading dock. Thanks, shipping. And the handwriting appears to be done by an older person or somebody with a certain degree of trouble when it comes to writing. So at first, I didn't even know if I wanted to include the Brailsford and Company Incorporated business they're building here in the video. But my advice to everybody is that if you locate an area and there is unusual things in the area, for example, everything that you've seen so far in this documentary, if you see a business in the area, I would also include that in your investigation, because if the military takes over an area, they're not going to take over 90% of it. They're going to take over 100% of the area. So what was very interesting is that I thought that this building was a little unusual. When you drive up and you see that someone has written on the door, store and an arrow to the right, and shipping with an arrow to the left, it kind of looks like something a kid would do. And the same thing for the FedEx sign. You would think a business would possibly go ahead and print something out on their computer after typing it up if they're going to post a sign, but instead they're scotch taping the thing to the door after basically writing it in some very poor handwriting. This honestly looks like something a kid would do that doesn't really care about what they're doing. It doesn't look like something professional. Then I didn't notice at first, but there are 3 or 4 chairs right against the back of the building. So if I had a business and a group of employees, sooner or later, I would probably build something like a patio in the back where they could take their breaks. I wouldn't lean a few chairs up against the side of the building here. It's just unprofessional. Just go hang out in these plastic chairs on the side of the building and lean against the building like a bunch of bums. The same thing with the loading dock in back. If I want to play the devil's advocate, I could come up with an excuse for that loading dock. And my guess would be that possibly if this side was the employee parking lot, maybe they were having trouble with the trucks moving in to pick stuff up or drop stuff off. So they had to kind of turn the docking bay so the truck would go to the end of the parking lot and then pull back that way toward the building instead of having to park the other way. So that might be an easier way for a truck to pull in there and then back up to the docking bay. And in order to do this cheaper, they went and they built a cheap overhang over the docking bay platform instead of extending the whole building out. And it does look like they're doing a little bit of construction with this part of the siding removed. Then they have this large camper that they're parking in back of their building. I have worked at a few warehouses. No one would ever park a camper in the back of their business. And if you notice, they have some canisters there, and they are sitting on the ground. You can see some white tanks they have that are sitting on the ground. So if you want to play the devil's advocate, you could say that possibly the owner of this business did not have room for his camper at his house. So the wife asked him to go park it at the business. So you could come up with excuses for all of this stuff. But altogether, it kind of looks a little bit odd. Like whoever is running this business isn't taking it that serious. Usually people that have a business take their business very serious. And they won't have stuff like campers parked in the back of their building. And they also have a horse trailer here in the back. And I would think that would get in the way if they have trucks coming in to pick up all their products. But still, if I wanted to play the devil's advocate, I could come up with excuses for all of that. So I almost decided to not show this because I really did not know what to say about it. So I looked up their website and I read the about section and I looked at a couple of their photographs. And then I went to their inventory page and they had 14 pages. And in all of the 14 pages, they had about 80 to 100 products listed in 2 rows. A row on the left and a row on the right. So I clicked on a few of their products and I saw a pump come up. It's like a mini pump that pumps water, I guess, or fluid. And then I scrolled down a bit and I clicked on something else and a fan came up. So that's all I looked for. So 2 days ago, I decided to give it one more look. So I went down the list, clicking on all the different products. And the same blower and the same pump kept on coming up over and over and over again. But every time I clicked on all these different products, the same photograph came up. And I went through all the 14 pages and seeing the same photographs come up again and again and again. So I took the 5 photographs that kept on coming up over and over and over again, marked as hundreds of different products. I took it off their website and I put it into a file. But I had to run out. And then the next morning, on the 4th, I set up my video camera to show everybody that they had the same products, the same photographs, over and over and over again, listed as hundreds of different products on their website. And I saw that they had changed their whole website. And it went from 80 to 100 products on each page to more like 6 on each page. But instead, They put the one photograph that they had, the one or two photographs. For example, their pumps. They have a single head and a double head pump. And then they show that that pump can be available for different volts so that it could be installed in different electrical systems, I guess. So that surprised the hell out of me, that somehow they saw that someone had gone through and checked every product on their 14 pages and then copied their 5 actual products. They had actually 5 or 10 photographs that were listed as like 1,000 different products. They redid their whole website in one day to make it look less like a front and more like a regular business. So that shocked the hell out of me. So always take a good look at the website and try to learn a little bit about the products that they are carrying. If you're looking into a company, and you will begin to see through a lot of these organizations, a lot of these businesses that are just fronts. And suddenly all the rest of it becomes clear. From these weird half-assed signs that they put, to these weird overhangs that they build over their loading docks, to their campers and horse trailers that they leave in back of their buildings. There's supposed to be some sort of machine shop that produces centrifugal blowers and pumps and fans, but they have recreational vehicles and horse trailers parked in back of their buildings. And if you look on their weird loading dock here, you'll see that they have a barbecue sitting there. So in my opinion, it looks like a bunch of nuts run this place. So if you ever see something weird, do not hesitate. Get the camera right then and there and get video of it. That's why it's good to always carry a camera around with you. And if you see something, take a video of it, because these weirdos will be right behind you, ready to clean up their mess, or clean up their buddy's mess, or totally redo a website so it doesn't look like a bunch of nuts are running some sort of front business that actually has 5 pretty simple products that they are labeling as 1,000 different products. So after seeing that in action, but not taking video of that website, they were on that. And they must have worked on that the whole night. And the next morning, when I went there to take video of that, they had changed the whole thing, so it didn't look as crazy. So back to this weird shed that they built around their loading dock. So the garage bay is facing out. And I guess at some point, if this was ever a regular building that actually did something in this building, they would have trucks just pull right to that garage door. But instead they built this kind of shed around it. So I guess the truck would pull down to the end of the driveway where the horse trailer is. And then they would back up to the docking bay. And then they would wheel whatever they're taking off the truck onto the platform and then making a sharp left into this garage bay. Now, from what I know about trucks, is that they usually have a long ramp that they pull out the back of a truck. And sometimes the truck is higher than the bay that they're pulling up to. So you back up your truck and then you kind of use the ramp to go into the garage area. It extends from the back of the truck into the garage area if your truck is taller than the bay that you are backing up to. So you would think that they would have a regular bay where if people are bringing in supplies for them to work with, they would have something that will make it easy for the people to bring the multitude of boxes and deliveries into the building with a little bit of ease. So I guess there'll be very little room for you to extend your ramp to if you had a real tall truck. And then once again, you'll have to wheel or carry your stuff off the back of the truck and then make this sharp turn to get into this garage bay. So it'll be very difficult to get in and out of this thing. So this is not constructed by anybody who's used to having large shipments of boxes going either in or out of this place. It seems like it's constructed to be very inconvenient for that, and more to conceal this garage bay. It looks like they have a sliding wooden door. So I don't know what that is for. I guess they could argue that when the FedEx truck comes late at night, they'll have a little enclosed area where it looks like they have a shelf right next to their barbecue where they can put their little tiny boxes that they're shipping out. So I haven't really taken much notice, but usually FedEx, I think they stop delivering around dinner time, around 5 or 6. I've seen UPS trucks out kind of later, after dark, around Christmas time, but I've never seen a UPS truck or a FedEx truck out late at night. And I checked the hours, and unless they changed it, it said they're open from 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, but they might have changed that. So I really don't know too many FedEx trucks that are out late at night doing deliveries or pickups. I think as a rule of thumb, people don't like deliveries late at night. They don't want to hear some FedEx guy jump out of his truck and run down the driveway and start banging on the door at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So I think their limit is 5 or 6 p.m. I've never seen a truck from FedEx out late at night. But of course, in the world of Brailsford, they have to construct this weird shed around their loading dock that'll make any incoming or outgoing shipments very difficult in order to appease the FedEx truck who is usually there late at night picking up or dropping off stuff, I guess. And so it looks like they have a shelf also parked in front of their garage bay here. And again, that may obstruct any guy dropping off some equipment to build their crap. That might obstruct his way to get into the building with the masses of boxes that he might bring in there for them to produce the great many blowers and fans and pumps that they have to ship all over the world and to NASA. So you can see that they're very proud of that. And they got their pumps and their fans orbiting around their space shuttle here. So again, if you see something odd, make sure to take video of it right then and there. Don't ever hesitate like I did and not catch them in the act, because now the website has been redesigned to look a little bit more sensible. Due to the complete reconstruction of their website, after I saw it looking very odd, that put my attention on this building 100%. So it does not surprise me to find something like this existing in this area. And what makes this even more odd is that they have a barbecue on the loading dock. Imagine having a place of business where you're constantly taking in shipments and sending out deliveries, and you have a barbecue right in front of your loading dock. Okay, under their history, Brailsford wrote they were incorporated in 1944, and one of their first motors was designed for use in a radiosonde that they developed for the Army Signal Corps during World War II. And they were looking for a device that could be dropped behind enemy lines and transmit readings of air temperature, pressure, and relative humidity via radio transmitter to a receiver on the ground. So they needed a radiosonde with a motor that had a very low current drain. And supposedly Brailsford became the first to successfully provide that capability where others have failed. So they were used in World War II and were critical instruments aboard weather planes that were sent out prior to bombing raids that ended the war. They go on to write that the Brailsford motor has been used in a wide range of marine research activities. Brailsford timers were used by Radio Free Europe to help spread their message to communist countries during the Cold War. Then they state below are some early pictures from our long history of producing high quality products. The first photograph is labeled Trade Show, and there are 2 individuals in that photograph, and this is a close-up of their faces. So the first are two guys standing in front of a black curtain, it appears. And on their table they have some of their instruments. Unfortunately, this website does not give a description to any of these photographs to describe what these instruments are, which is what I would expect a website that specializes in these very specific motors, blowers, fans, and that sort of thing to do. But what is very strange is in the background there is a poster hanging under a Brailsford and Company sign, and on the poster board are some of their components or products, and they are arranged like a collage. And on the bottom right is something that appears like a record. So I don't know if that is actually a piece to something that they produce, but the whole poster board looks like something that maybe a kid would do for a science fair. What is on the table may look somewhat reasonable to somebody who is not too familiar with this equipment, but this poster board definitely looks like something out of a third grade science fair project. I really don't understand why these scientists or these inventors or these machine shop technicians would do something like that. I don't think it helps their presentation. The second photograph is marked machine shop, and I do not know what year this is supposed to be taken. They do not have a good description for any of these photographs. I have no idea what year this photograph was supposed to be taken. However, in my opinion, it looks like it's been photoshopped a little bit. If you see the second figure shown in the middle of the photograph, it kind of looks like he's been cut out of a different photograph and put into this one. He looks a little bit more faded, like there is a different light from a different scene on him. And then there is this equipment in the middle, and I guess they look like something like a drill press. And honestly, they look shiny and newer with the light reflecting off of them, and they appear different than the machine that he is using on the left. So in my opinion, this looks photoshopped. The next photograph again has no description, and it is marked by Brailsford as 7 ladies. The title for that JPEG is 7 ladies. So the lady in the first chair looks like she has something like a check on her desk. And I really cannot tell for sure, but it looks like she has something like a magnifying lens. And I cannot tell what she is doing. Same thing with the lady shown in the second seat. It looks like she has an empty plastic case in front of her, and I cannot see what she's doing. And they are photographed in a long room with what appears to be a large vent on the ceiling. So the next photograph, the JPEG is marked as 3 ladies. It appears they're working on a triangular shaped piece of sheet metal with a hole drilled on every corner and something attached on top. And there is kind of a structure holding the top part up. So once again, you would think that they would identify what that is on their website as what they may be working on. So the last thing to note is that this woman with this dark gray dress on and her hair pulled back, it appears as if this same lady is pictured in both of these 2 photographs. And these 2 photographs appear to be taken in 2 different buildings or 2 different rooms. But still, here she's pictured wearing the same dark gray dress. She has the same scarf or whatever is it that is around her neck. Her hairstyle is the same, and even her dress is hanging down, kind of pointed toward the base of the chair. Her hands are a little bit different. The position of her head is a little different. And in one, she is wearing something like a white apron. So I wouldn't usually pick on this. Maybe it's an employee that wore the same exact thing, working in 2 different rooms on an unidentified project. In the 2 photographs they are featuring on this website. But still, it's interesting to note that the same lady is photographed twice wearing the same dress. If someone were inclined to Photoshop an image, they may take a photograph of a lady such as this and change it a little bit. So if some of these photographs were photoshopped for unknown reasons, These are some of the things that will stand out. But the important thing to understand is that there is a lack of detail or explanation to this website. All of this stuff kind of camouflages the fact that they may be producing very little.